So how are you? Thank you so much for doing this today. I really
Oh,
appreciate
I'm
it.
fabulous. I'm great. I'm just like ecstatic. Life is so good.
Awesome, awesome. That's great to hear. Well, congrats on the book. It's great, and your story covers so much and has it has so many kind of highs and lows. But I
Did
mean,
you read it?
I did, yeah,
No way.
yeah, right here. But yeah,
Oh, that is so awesome. Thank you for even taking time and reading it. That was
oh,
cool.
no, it's great, and I like how it's done too, because it's like it's real.
Thank
Like
you.
I like how you have it like kind of segmented, and it bounces kind of all over, but it's still all the through line is still really cool, and it's just it's real easy to kind of pick up from kind of anywhere too. But congrats on it. But when did the idea come about? For you to do the book, and kind of how challenging was it to put it all together?
Well, first of all, are we starting? We're
Yep.
recording.
Yep.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you for having me.
Mhm.
I've been looking forward to this interview. One, because I absolutely love Chris. I think Chris is amazing. I love who he is. I love who he stands for. I love how, well, basically, I don't know if this is true, but it's just like I like how he doesn't give a shit. This is me. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And I love real people. Followed Chris's career for a long time. And I just, oh, and by the way, he did have me on the cruise one time, which was fantastic.
Nice.
Looking forward to going again. I want to go again.
Mhm.
So hell yeah. I think that like Chris and his books, because I've read his books, in fact, they're all up here,
Mhm.
that reading or writing this book has been like 40 years in the making. I mean, when I first started this business, I knew that when I start this, I want it to be a movie. I wanted to write a book, and this was over 40 years ago. I mean, who does that, right? And so, I mean, I even trademarked my name over 40 years ago. So, I mean, I was way ahead of my time in every field.
Mhm.
And I just knew I wanted to do something. So there was one time I actually sat down and started putting it together. And I kind of put a little bit together. And then later, I actually sat down with Vince Russo
Mhm.
when I was in WWF. And, those little tapes back in the day, and you'd put it in the recorder. And I spoke to him, and we made all of these tapes, and we were going to write a book back then.
Mhm.
And so that never came to fruition. So that was like my second time. Then there was a third time I was going to do it, but it never came to fruition. And then finally, what else do you do during a pandemic besides have
Mhm.
lots of sex with your spouse and write a book? So I did both
Mhm.
and finally put it all together. And when I did this, and I was introduced through a wonderful person. His name's John Arezzi. And so ECW Press was like, yeah, we're very interested. And hell yeah. And so jumped at it, got together with them. I needed it to be put together like how I am and how I speak. And I wanted people to, like, when they read the book, to feel like I was talking to them,
Mhm.
right? Like they were there and they were living it. And it was like from A to L and then from back to C to Z. And
Mhm.
like you said, it's all over the place, but it keeps you engaged. Like there's so much activity. You're like, you're reading one chapter and you're like, wow, that wasn't, wow, God, I want to know more. And then when you get to chapter 10, you're like, there's the rest of it, right?
Mhm.
So, and that's basically how my life has went. And I said, I need it to sound like this. I need it to be put together like this. And I got together with Greg Oliver. What a perfect match. And he implemented all of that very well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I thought it was very well written and very well done. And I'm very excited. Now, can I take some of those chapters and write a book, probably about maybe out of 10 of them chapters? Hell yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, obviously, like you said, it goes all over the place, and you've had a fascinating life and a fascinating career. But what were the most challenging parts of the book to kind of put together? I mean, was it hard for you to get? I mean, you're very vulnerable in this book as well too, and you really
I
open up a lot.
am.
I mean, so how kind of describe that? I mean, was that really challenging for you to kind of tackle some of those real vulnerable moments?
Right. Isn't it though in life? I
Mm,
mean, because once we talk about it or we put it out there, it's out there.
mm,
And I've always been very secluded, very kind of a introvert. Even in my business, I've been like kind of an introvert in my business. And I've always kept my stories like when you look back to my interviews, they've been the same. Like I've said the same interviews and the same stories, but changed up the words some bit. And
mm,
I knew that if I don't know where I got this, but I knew that if I would give too much away, it would be giving my story away.
mm,
So when I knew when I was writing this, I just it was like peeling back an onion and reliving some of these moments where like, I mean, it was like a come to Jesus moment. Like, what am I doing? What? Oh, are you sure? And I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to say. This is what needs to be said. And I needed to do it in a way that was eloquently done, but in my words, and to set a message, to be motivating, inspiring, and to tell the truth, damn it. And
mm,
there's so much more to this book that a lot of it I will take to the grave with me because
mm,
it's nobody's business. But there are some things out there that still, needs to be said and learned by people that it probably could help them in a few things.
mm. So yeah, you obviously helped pave the way for where women are at in wrestling today. What's your take on sort of the state of where women are at in wrestling today? And in kind of what ways do you would you like to see it maybe sort of evolve or get recognized further?
Well, I feel that there are a handful of women in every era that transcends and that paves the way and makes a mark and transitions in a way for the better of the next era, right? So we can handpick those women and to whatever our likings are, and that feel that they really, revolutionized women's wrestling. I there's been great women in every era, and of course the women that helped make those women that hit the pinnacle of their career that don't get the recognition are really really important. I feel that where we're at today in women's wrestling is exactly kind of it's my style. I was so ahead of my time. I think you know this, that if you know wrestling and my style, that I was so ahead of my time, and I'm glad for that because I set a standard. And when I say that, when I got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, when I first met Vince for the first time after all those years and the, incident that I talk about in the book, um, he just was so cordial. And he said, what we want to do and what our vision is exactly what I had in you when we, brought you in. And exactly, you are the prototype of where we're going. And I was like, what? So I knew right then and there that things were going to change, that divas were on their way out, the women's belt was coming back. And oh my gosh, look where we're at. And the women are thriving. And there's going to be so much more to wrestling, and especially with WWE. And they're going to have so many different channels, meaning of they're going to need so much content. They're going to need so much because there's so much coming. It's a exciting time, even though wrestling does have its pinnacle moments. Like, you're up here for 10 years, 12 years, and all of a sudden wrestling hits a dive and it stays, you know, and then it goes up and down. So
Is there anybody out right now that's working that you see a lot of yourself in, or that reminds you of you when you were in the ring?
I mean, I do get that question. And a lot of people say that, they want to see matches with me and a couple of girls and the names get repeated. Um, I do see a little bit of me in a few of them.
Hmm.
There are some girls that are so great on their promos that I could have never, that I never did reach in my time because we just didn't have that time. We did get some opportunities. However, I really love the promos that are hitting from these women. Now, if we can see some more storylines and content, like maybe five storylines going within the women. It would be great, right? Or even more. And not just a month, not just a month and a half,
Mhm.
or not even 2 months. It would be great to see a storyline that is built something like they did with the bloodline.
Mhm. I got you. You've worked with so many great wrestlers, over the years in your career, and you touched on them in the book, of course. But I wanted to get some of your most vivid memories, or maybe special memories of working with two in particular, specifically. The first one I wanted to ask you about was Sherri Martel. What are some of your, I guess, what are some of the first things that come to mind when you look back on when you think back to working and palling around with Sherri?
I was scared shitless of Sherri at first because she was very hard school. She was very kayfabe, and kayfabe was very strong in our day. So not only did we not talk or speak to each other, we did not ride or anything. And she believed in that so much where, I mean, I was still learning about kayfabe and no one ever schooled me in on it, and I had to learn the hard way. So, I mean, there are incidences where, she wouldn't talk to me about the match. She wouldn't do anything until the day of, and she would just call it out there. And it was the best learning session ever of my life because it really made me listen, watch, learn, hone into my craft, her craft. She was a brawler. She wasn't a technical wrestler by any means, but she was a brawler and she brought it. Her timing and her psychology was impeccable,
Mhm.
impeccable in this business. And so to get to work with her alongside of her and do things was incredible. And she was a good seller. Let me
Mhm.
tell you, if she didn't like something or if she thought you did something wrong, she would tell you in many, many ways. There's a match her and I had, and I did a German suplex, and it looked like it knocked her out. And I took her head and shook it, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, she killed her. She did it so wrong." And I'll never forget after that, Sherri was like, "That was some good shit. Oh my God." And so I was just like, when I see that video clip come back and it starts rolling around again and people make their negative comments, I just giggle. You can't
Mhm.
help but laugh because these people don't know,
Mhm.
and so maybe during one of my book signing events and I do a Q&A and stuff, and I get to tell those stories deep. It would
Mhm.
be great to tell that story.
Nice. The second one I wanted to ask about too is Luna, and I know she could be. There's a lot of different sides to Luna. She could be super sweet, and then and
Hmm.
kind of super off the rails in sort of the same span of a short time. But yeah, what are some of your I guess your most vivid memories or some of your most special memories of being with Luna?
She was a very nice and kind person. She was very giving.
Mhm.
I will tell you, I've never met a person that lived, breathed, ate, slept, everything in this business than more than she did as a woman.
Mhm.
And she loved this business so much, and she gave her heart, she gave her soul, and she basically died for this business. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so she really didn't get she gave so much to wrestling, and wrestling gave little back to her,
Mhm.
and so I mean, there was moments where she had highs and it was great. And I remember she'd always tell me, "You fucking bitch, you're the one that turned down the deal. And
Mhm.
now you were supposed to go to WWE and do this Sable bullshit, and they called me to do it, and I had to do it, this type of stuff." And I'm like, "Oh my God," sorry. Hey, but she was very thankful of having that, right? So I think it's the stories in my book. I think about me turning down the deal with Save that whole deal. Was it in there? Or maybe that'll be in my second book. I can't remember, but if it's not, then I mean that's a huge ordeal about that, where
Mhm.
people don't even know. It's not even spoke about after I trashed the title. I mean, WWE did call me and ask me to come back to do a huge angle.
Gotcha. Nice, nice.
Now you heard it here.
It's a good teaser, yeah, for the next
It
book.
is.
Yeah, yeah. What did it mean when you got the call to go into the WWE Hall of Fame? I mean, kind of what were your initial? I know you talk about it a little bit in the book,
Mm.
but what were your sort of the first initial reactions? I mean, what did it ultimately really mean for you to get that recognition to go into the hall?
I will tell you, it totally, when I retired in 2001, I was done with wrestling.
Mhm.
I never watched it, never listened, never whatever. I was done. Fast forward 15 years, whatever later, I get this call when I was in a driver's meeting because I drove monster trucks for 20 years. Right. We'd have these driver meetings, kind of like NASCAR. You sit and you got to talk about and do, you look at the track and you do your stuff. And so I'm listening to all the rules and regulations, and I kept getting this. My phone went off, and I looked at it, and it says, "Please call, WWE." And I was like, "Oh shit!" A fan got my number. Damn it,
Mhm.
And then it happened again. Please, we'd like to speak with you. And I'm thinking, oh man. And then again, and then I thought, it's all in my book, by the way. And then I said, okay, maybe not. Okay, maybe they just need my address for tax reasons. And then finally I was scared to death.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not gonna go through the whole story and all that other stuff, but then I finally got there, and my husband didn't live anything through my wrestling, just through the 20 years of monster trucks or whatever. And so he was like, yeah, what is this all about? So like I had to educate him all about wrestling. And I said, Alan, for the first time, I'm nervous as hell. Like I don't know what to expect because all I knew was the old style of wrestling and how I was treated and the people and I was like, God, I'm walking back into this. I don't know if I want this. And I was just like, whatever. So when I got there, I will tell you, it was the most amazing experience I ever had in wrestling. They treated me like gold, and it was so nice and accommodating. And I will tell you something about Natty, Natalia Neidhart. This woman is so beautiful. Her soul to me, and she was so nice. If it wasn't for her intro speech to my speech of the night, it would have never built the platform. She's incredible. She's intelligent, she's kind, and she's a tough cookie. And I mean, my God, she's been there, what, 10, 13 years, and just an incredible soul.
Mhm.
And so I just didn't know what to expect. And once I got there, it was my best experience. And I swear, if anyone gets to go into the Hall of Fame, I hope you have the greatest experience as well. And everyone, if they get picked, you deserved it. They picked you, and I know other people have their other feelings and what they say and think about it. And it's this and it's that. But at the end of the day, I'm a Hall of Famer.
Mhm. Nice. Yeah. Talk a little bit, if you would, briefly about you working with the NWA now and working with Billy Corgan over there. And, there's some exciting stuff going on over there. I like their kind of old school presentation of things and kind
Mm.
of how they're doing it. But yeah, I mean, what's the experience been like, so far over there with NWA, and kind of who out of that lot, have you worked with, do you think has some real potential, or some real, potential to be, I guess, big stars, or kind of has that star power in the making?
I will tell you, when I first was asked to go to NWA by Lagana, yeah, I was like shocked, like, wow, thank you so much. And so it gave me an opportunity to go out there and show them what I was about. And then a year or two later, I got a call back from Pat Kenny and said, hey, you're missing your calling. Would you like to be a producer, an agent? And I'm like, what? Okay. I've helped kids out through our whole career and, monster trucks and wrestling and help them. I get DMs all the time asking for advice. What do you think of this? Especially character building and putting it out there. Remember, people, wrestling is a work, and sometimes mostly it is all a work on social media, unless they say, I absolutely hate this effing person. No, it ain't. So, or else maybe it's a buildup to something or a hope of a buildup. So just need to get that out there with a lot of things going on. And so the basics of what I like about it is that it is old school. And when Pat Kenny asked me to be a producer, I was absolutely floored. And I said, hell yeah, I want to do this. Yeah, I'll give it a try. And so I did. And it's been 2 years basically. And his old school and the whole TV old, like, feel. And now we got the Crockett Cup coming up. It's wow. wow, the history in it. And I will tell you about Billy Corgan. His mind is incredible. Like he'll come up with things like, I don't even know, like, where the hell do you know that? Like, how do you know this? But he loved wrestling for his long entire life. And so now here he is, the owner of NWA, to actually give it, credit and to bring back the history and the gold and the whole respect of the NWA. And I
Mm.
like that. I like how it's different than the rest because we're very, in all the other federations, we're very showy, we're very Hollywood, we're very, you know what I mean? And it's very quick paced. And this is something different. And I like it. I love the whole storytelling. And I will tell you, there is more than a handful of kids here that are incredibly talented, and I would love to see them grow and move and do their thing because there are a lot of young talent here too. Oh my gosh, lots of young talent, and I know there's a lot of eyes on our talent. I feel like we're the farm,
Mm.
and then they grow and they get to the point and they go and grow elsewhere.
Mm. I got you. Nice, nice. Well, Deborah, I'll let you go here, but again, I very much appreciate your time today and everything else, and congrats again on the book. But real quick, kind of coming up, what's kind of any sort of any other plans? I mean, what's kind of the rest of your year look like as far as in wrestling or possibly in monster trucks or just with anything else kind of you have going on?
Well, I feel that as a woman in this business, that if you have your mind or and your body physicality, and you can contribute to help it grow and expand and help the other talent, and I feel that everyone has a place. um I know that our society has looked upon older women, that they don't belong still. I see a lot of that still in our business, that, hey, this woman is older. How dare you? You're washed up. You're old. You don't deserve, you don't belong. And I'm like, well, I look at half of this and then, you look at a lot of these backgrounds and you're like, but you're a feminist.
Mhm.
Where's your fight? Right? Why do you feel this way? Remember, this is entertainment and everybody wants to grow and be better at what they do and carry on and be that trailblazer. So, knowing that I have that headline as being a trailblazer, as you said at the beginning, I feel that if I can continue to do what I do and be active and give hope to the women that are 20, 30s, 40s, 50s, that, hey, if I'm still active in a business that I enjoy and then I'm still capable and take care of myself, that if you are lucky enough to become my age of 60 years old and do the things that I do, then I'm fighting for you, to
Mhm.
give you the platform to pave the way and trailblaze for things that you feel that shouldn't be, but are going to be able. So when you're my age, they're going to be fighting for the same damn things.
Mhm.
And I'm doing that for you. Not just for you, but for me.
Mhm.